can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her. If there's no afterlife and she isn't real, then my life never mattered anyway. This would be 19-year-old Brandon Hull's last post on Facebook in April 2021 before his rampage began, just an hour later at a FedEx facility. He was a former employee and would later return to open fire on the workers both inside and outside of the building between shifts, before ultimately turning the gun on himself. Brandon claimed the lives of 8 people and would injure 7 others. The ages of the victims ranged from 19 to 74 years old. This would be the deadliest shooting to date occurring in the state of Indiana. The rampage lasted less than 4 minutes, according to other witnesses, in which people inside the facility were unable to contact for help due to the company's no-phone policy. On the surface, motive for the tragedy seemed to have been for being fired, but as investigators looked closer into Brandon's life, they would grow more and more puzzled. Brandon had 2 Facebook accounts, which the social media company deleted soon after the tragedy at the request of law enforcement. Investigators had hoped Brandon's online history would shed light on his motives, but Facebook said in a memo that his accounts focused mostly on My Little Pony, and his postings showed no signs of extremist behavior. The Brony subculture first emerged soon after the show's 2010 debut. While fans mostly consisted of innocent kids and young adults who enjoyed the wholesome themes of My Little Pony, friendship is magic, it has also been known to attract predators and supremacists who spread hateful messages through fan art, or were physically aroused by the ponies and would create lewd images involving the ponies. At the age of 3, he was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder. During this same year, she would leave his father. He threatened that if she took the kids, he would end his own life. "Do it then," she tells him. And so he did. As a young kid, Brandon had been diagnosed with several behavioral disorders starting in the 4th grade, such as disruptive behavior disorder and anxiety disorder, as well as autism spectrum disorder. Brandon demanded to wear 3 pairs of shorts, rocked back and forth while he watched TV, and if his routine was disrupted, it would often take hours to get ready. He was late to school a lot. His behavior in childhood deteriorated to a point where police had to be called to the home on at least 2 occasions. At 11 years old, he was charged with battery, criminal confinement, and intimidation. He was accused of kicking and punching his mom before grabbing 2 table knives and stabbing her. He would not attend school past the 6th grade, which would then keep him at home indefinitely. The isolation worsened his condition, which created an environment more dangerous for himself and his mother. In March 2020, a year before the incident, his mom went with him to what they called the Army surplus store. They went there often because Brandon loved the military. There he would buy a gun under his mom's supervision. Many have asked the mother why she allowed it. She had claimed Brandon was 18 and was going to buy a gun with or without her anyway. At least this way she could know what he was doing. He became increasingly abusive towards his mother and often wanted to end his own life. His mother was desperate to get him help, fearing he would do the worst. At one point, he was briefly placed under psychiatric detention by police when his mother reported her concerns that he was contemplating death by cop. His mom hoped they would put him on a 72-hour hold, but it was no longer than 2 hours before she got the call to pick him up. According to the medical records, Brandon was seen by a doctor who wrote that Brandon did not want to die by police and that he feels fine. Nonetheless, a shotgun was seized from his home and was not returned to him. During a visit from FBI to their home, he had a conversation with an agent about his future. Brandon mentioned that maybe one day he would like to become an FBI agent himself, in which the agent made clear that could never happen. This upset Brandon. In April, the mother met with a member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. He turned to her and said, "Your son hits every red flag for a mass shooter." His computer would reveal that he had an obsession with previous cases of mass shootings and would find delight when he found some bit of information about the cases that wasn't widely available to the mainstream public. When asked if he could imagine what it would be like to be the perpetrator in these instances, he claimed, "I don't want to waste my time doing something like that. It's a hassle," and claimed he felt bad for the victims and the families. Over time, Brandon would quit showing up for work and had trouble getting out of bed, which ultimately led to his termination at FedEx. It was in 2021 Brandon became even more unstable. He feared the FBI had a file on him that would prevent him from ever being allowed to join the Army. Brandon met with a licensed clinical social worker, telling them, "I can get very, very angry. I am a danger to society, and that society should fear me." The evening before the tragedy happened, the mother claimed she got home from work, and Brandon was in a pleasant mood. After dinner, he had took a relaxing bath, and they both went to bed, or so she thought. He would sneak out of the house and carry out his destruction. He used 2 AR-15-style rifles, both legally purchased from a licensed gun store last July and September. The FBI eventually concluded that the final act was intended to demonstrate his masculinity and capability while fulfilling a final desire to experience killing people. If his mother could speak with her son now, she would tell him, "I won't grieve your death. I can't. I grieve the victims' deaths because it's not anything I ever thought would happen. I grieve those people more than I ever will you." The worst selfie ever. Andrey, an 18-year-old student of the Western Complex of Continuous Education in Moscow, Russia, can be seen smiling with a toothpick in his mouth, taking selfies after rushing his health and safety teacher with a hunting knife. He would stab his teacher in the neck. As he bled out, Andrey would immediately take his own life with a circular saw. Photos would be taken of the aftermath by those that found the two, which are too graphic to show on YouTube. Passing students and teachers reported hearing no screams or anything during the act. By next class, a teacher would see something on the ground, which at first glance seemed like a fallen mannequin, until upon closer inspection were 2 bodies. When help arrived, it was too late. Investigators first believed that there was a murderer that must have escaped, but that theory was debunked shortly after when they found the pictures Andrey had taken with his phone. While taking the selfies, he had posted the photos on the popular Russian website vk.com. He would also send them to a group chat he was active in, where the group would often discuss self-termination pacts. Andrey committed his murder on the 1st of November 2017. In many of his last posts, he began using a hashtag with the numbers 11117, indicating that it's possible he planned the murder long ago. Along with the numbers referencing the date and the gruesome photos, Andrey had also posted a track by the Chicago-born band November's Doom, correlating with the month the incident took place. The band had reached out about the news with this to say, "It has been brought to our attention that a piece of our music was used in conjunction with the images posted from the horrible event that took place in Russia, involving murder and then the individual ending himself. All of us in November's Doom feel absolutely terrible for everyone involved. To the families and friends of all involved, our utmost and sincere apologies for the pain you are going through, and we as a collective hope you find the strength to get through this unfortunate event. We do not and would never condone this sort of use for our art and our music. We create the style of music we do to reach people on an emotional level, and the thought of it being used for something like this sickens us beyond words. Association of this sort is something a band would never ask for. If you're an individual struggling with your own thoughts, please seek the help you need before turning to this sort of extreme and senseless violence. Be kind, be well. With heavy hearts, November's Doom." According to fellow students, he and his teacher had more than one conflict in the past, and there were rumors that the teacher was going to expel him. Andrey said he would end his teacher's life sooner or later, but no one took the threat seriously due to it being a common thing for him to throw out threats like that. Students said that the teacher, who was a former army officer, was beloved by many. To authorities, it wasn't clear to them the true motivation behind the incident. Was this just a simple act of revenge, or something more? When investigating his social media, it was found that his profile was adorned with images of an original My Little Pony character. Being a Brony raised eyebrows and prompted investigating what strange corners of the internet he may have been involved in. Authorities had later come to the belief that he was participating in the Blue Whale Challenge. The challenge involves completing 50 tasks, assigned by an online administrator, the last of which is ending oneself in order to win the game. Since 2016, the Blue Whale Challenge has allegedly claimed the lives of at least 130 Russian teens, who were often vulnerable, depressed, and coached online. The Blue Whale Challenge eventually broke Russian borders and became a worldwide phenomenon reaching parts of Central Asia, Europe, and South America. The first case in the United States was of a sister, daughter, and friend to many. Nobody who knew her suspected that she would take her own life. Her brother, devastated, would look for clues in her room. The paintings of whales displayed didn't seem unusual at first, not until he noticed a pattern among the drawings and her journal entries, which included a small sketch of a girl, including a name beneath her written in Russian. An internet search of the name turned up the story of Rina Palenkova, a 17-year-old girl who simply posted "goodbye" with a selfie moments before ending her own life by running straight for a moving train. The train conductor tried desperately to stop when he saw the girl running towards the tracks, but nothing could be done. The photo went viral in Russia, and all the attention of her death led to the discovery of her involvement with the blue whale. When looking more into the blue whale game, some reportedly start with simple things like drawing a blue whale on a piece of paper, but demands would drastically increase from there. It is reported that the administrator sends the teens to scope out the location of the place they wish to die in advance as one of their challenges. In some cases, they go to the top of a tall building, in others a train station. Each task becomes riskier until the 50th and final one. The Colonel of Justice for the Investigation Committee Department of St. Petersburg in Russia, Anton, launched an investigation on Blue Whale, working with a girl who had survived an attempt on her own life. She informed him that players are told that once they start playing, there is no way back, and if they try to change their minds, they are threatened by the curator, who claims to have all their information and says he will come after them or their family. One man, who is believed to be the ringleader of the Blue Whale group, was a 21-year-old psychology major named Philip Budakin. In a confession, he declared that his aim was to rid the world of biological waste, saying that he was cleansing society by encouraging those that were happy to leave this world. While he was held in custody, he had been inundated with love letters from teenage girls addressed to him at a Russian jail. During his confessions, he detailed how the game worked. They would gather the children who used specific hashtags in their posts, then offered simple tasks which for some were too boring or weird to complete. Those who didn't complete these first stages were going to be too difficult to manipulate, but the ones who stayed were given much stronger tasks like self-harm, balancing on a rooftop, and to end an animal's life and post a video or pictures for proof. Most children left at this stage, but a small group obediently went through all the tasks, physiologically ready to follow whatever the administrator told them, no matter how strange or scary the tasks. They felt their position in the group was so precious that they did literally everything to stay in. During his time locked up, fan pages began to pop up advocating for his innocence and to be released. However, Philip had been sentenced for 3 years and 4 months prison for inciting death to teens, and is by now presumably free. Other administrators have taken his place since his arrest and have been caught and arrested themselves. As of September 2023, there has been warning of the game's return after things have thought to have been settled down. What has originally been thought of as a random attack on a teacher by a disturbed Brony has turned into something much darker and bigger than anyone could have imagined.